think it's safe to say that Age of Empires is the grandfather of strategy gaming. It was the first game I ever played, and I was instantly addicted. With its gameplay mechanics superior to any other game of its type, the sound design, and let's not forget the incredible soundtrack of our childhood. What if you want to go back to that nostalgia though? Or what if you want to get into this genre that Age of Empires set such a high bar for? Well, today Age of Empires 2 is still going, but on Steam it's $20 and Age of Empires 3 for around $35 to $40. And I don't know about you, but this is a bit of a big ask for a game that was released nearly 2 decades ago and a title still released in 2009, but it's still doing so well for itself. Well, let me introduce to you 0 AD. But 080 did exist. You have less IQ than a Rivita clacker. Well, yeah, it's the name of a game, so shut up and listen. The game is set between the year 500 BC and 1 BC. It is the first part, and there are plans to release an extension from 1 AD to 500 AD. Oh, okay, father. Sounds good, doesn't it? Well, it gets better, my friends, as 0 AD is an open source game, meaning editing, creating, and coding on it is as easy and works like a cream. Oh shit, I misspelled dream on the script. It's available across all platforms such as Windows, Linux, OS X, and some of the strange one that only Screbs used. Oh, and I think I may have forgotten to mention, it is free to play. Yes, download the game whenever you want, wherever you want, and you can play it for 100% free. If you're into coding, if you're a modder, download for free and mess about with the open source your heart content. Or if you're just a laid back gamer and wants to get back into the nostalgia of Age of Empires, make sure you pick it up. The game started off in around the year 2000 as a team of modders working on the Age of Empires engine for Age of Empires 2. They wanted to create a cool mod for Age of Empires 2 Rise of Kings, but they soon figured out that the lack of flexibility on a closed source canvas started to kind of limitate their work. So then, thus they went on to start from scratch on their own. Okay, so let's get into what I actually think of the game. As you can see, there are a lot of similarities to be drawn between 0 AD and Age of Empires series. More specifically, Age of Empires 1 and a bit of a cross between Age of Mythology, having similar time eras to AoE 1 during the ancient periods, yet a similar UI and feel to the game as a fantasy spin-off series. Even down to the replies from the villager when you click on them and order them to do things are so reminiscent to me of Age of Mythology. Talking about audio, the sound design is gorgeous. Yes, it's a strategy game, so you aren't going to be getting these booming subwoofer audiophile immersion simulations like you would in many first-person shooters these days, but the audio is tight, crisp, and brings you into the ancient world. Along with this, the graphics are probably as you would expect. Nothing to write home about, yet having a loving, nostalgic feel that won't take you away from the gameplay whatsoever. But what could I do in the game, father? Well, son, 0 AD offers the player 12 factions to play from. Each faction has their own unique skills, advantages, and disadvantages alike. Troop and tech trees are unique to each faction, so pick yours to your preferred playing style. But how is this different to Age of Empires? You scream at me, scaring my goldfish. 0 AD has a unique twist that creates some very different playstyles over Age of Empires. Workers, for example, they aren't set. You can't just create one worker over and over again on repeat to create a mob of villagers that will do all the work for you. Nearly all land infantry and archers are so-called citizen soldiers. This is in order to create a more realistic feel to the game, as civilizations used to be, as very few had professional armies. Well, some did, like the Spartans and so forth, but most societies had men working as farmers, blacksmiths, builders, potters, etc., then to gear up and go off to fight in times of war. This was conveyed in the game by having the infantry do the construction of large amounts of the time. Yes, villages are accessible, but can only be used to construct a few basic buildings and farming lands. From then on, you're going to have to recruit troops in order to replace your workers to build the more exciting things like barracks and fortresses and even like walls and watchtowers. This creates a very different and interesting dynamic to the game, as balancing your army and economy can become a massive challenge. Want to invade the neighbouring town? Well, don't think you can just send off your army in full strength, or you'll have no one to sustain your economy back home. A mechanic in a game like this does offer itself to the defending team, as you one might expect. If someone's attacking you, you're going to have all your workers being able to fight as well as your dedicated army.
Excuse me?
Oh god, what is it? What do you want now?
Can I play with my friends?
Shut up, you don't have any.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But he brings up a good point. What if you want to play on your very own sum? What if you want to destroy your buddies in a one-on-one duel for victory, or fight alongside a friend in order to destroy a greater threat? Multiplayer functionality is implemented, and it uses a peer-to-peer networking system. This means it doesn't have a central hub or server. Now, this can come with advantages and disadvantages. But there is, however, a central lobby server which can be used to discover other players and set up in a game. Players can also bypass the lobby and connect directly to each other using their IP address. Then, when a player is connected to each other, one player's computer acts as the host. The host gathers commands from all the players and distributes them. Sending just the player's commands reduces the amount of data that must be sent, which reduces, of course, delay and slower network connections. However, all connected players must calculate the entire game state from these commands, which means the game can only be as fast as the slowest computer the game can handle. As you can see, like many other strategy games, if you're wanting these massive battles with 4-on-4 or maybe even more, you might want to make sure that everyone playing with you has good internet and decent PCs, or the game is unlikely to run as intended. Now, this can come with issues because not all the time you play with people you know. It's quite hard to get 8 people that you know, your friends, talking on TeamSpeak, playing in a game together. A lot of the time you might be playing with random people, and it can be very hit and miss to whether they have a decent connection or a very bad connection, which can slow down the whole game for not just them, but everyone in the server. But is 0 AD better than Age of Empires? Well, I think personally that's a decision that only can be made by the user themselves. In my opinion though, it offers up so much more than Age of Empires ever did in terms of consumer creation and freedom within the engine. And of course, it's free to play, with no microtransactions, I might add. I mean, it's a great introduction for anyone that's never experienced a strategy game of the sort, or even a hardcore veteran who just wants something different to Age of Empires, as with the open source nature there's endless possibilities for changing the game to your preference. May it be overhauling graphics, or different troop types, or adding things in, or maybe even complete time overhauls in the era. There'll be links down below if you would like to go and check out this game, and make sure to tell me what you think. Is open source though the future of PC gaming? Is this where we are heading? What do you think? Make sure you tell me down below. Now, if this video gets 300 likes, I will make sure I bring out my Age of Empires versus 0 AD comparison video within the next few weeks. So maybe some guys can actually, if they've never played Age of Empires, check out what that game is about as well. But make sure you follow this channel if you love this sort of content, but if not, give me some feedback down below. But until then, I will see you in the next one.
Bye bye everybody.
Shut up.